Hey, so I really do enjoy coming down here and playing with my synthesizers and just trying a whole bunch of different things to explore with sound and like have fun tweaking the settings of these machines. And really it's a lot of fun. Like I use these to make sounds and do all sorts of other stuff with it. But my day to day I'm usually more focused around 3D modeling, and like virtual and augmented reality is the big area, as well as like a surrounding packages of that. And I don't try and hide that here, but I do try and focus on that music element and like how these machines can sort of influence how things work. But something's come across my radar which I've been very keen to have a shot at, because it works on a Oculus Quest here, and it's done by Korg. So if you ever heard of Korg Gadget, it's sort of like a DAW with a whole bunch of soft synths to play around with, and like they do have it on the Switch, but they've just got it onto VR, and it's like I've been itching to give it a shot. So I thought let's give that a shot and see how it actually compares to a live jam. So let's get straight into it. Alright, I've got VR loaded and I have Korg Gadget running, and yeah, this is what you get. You have like this virtual space, it's super tall, but we don't need to move around much because we have all our machines all set out nice and neatly. And I just find it like these types of VR experiences where everything's laid out is usually really good, because I'm just standing in the middle of my studio and yeah, I don't really want to bump into things. But let's get straight into starting a new song. So you'd use the joystick to move around. So I'm just going to create new song, press A there. There we go. And then we've got something ready to play. So if I hit X on here, so that one there, that should start playing. And we got a drum machine as we've got some like really cool UI stuff happening. And if we go to this one, this is what's playing. So as you can see, we've got the drum machine. If I hit X again, it's going to start playing the bass drum. And as you can see, it's all sort of synced up. So each one of these displays deals with the machine that corresponds to it. But let's say I wanted to change up this beat here. Like there's a few ways we can interact with it. So I could like hit that and then press A. I can use the joystick on this one. That's a really nice clap. So I can say we could go into the menu and we can go play and record. Just going to hit A on that, and then we can go into record. So now every time so I sort of messed up there and I want to edit that, so I can select that screen, and now I can use the joystick to actually draw that around. So I might just delete that one, and I do like that sort of off tilted thing. Maybe not so off tilted. We'll add some hi-hats. So what have we got? That one. So if we'll go up here. What else is on here? So I might just do some live recording. So I'm just going to bring up that menu. So I'm just going to stop that there. So we got a really cool little groove there. It's something I actually enjoy. So I'm just going to leave that as a melody line, but there are a couple of ways we can interact with the London. So that's our sort of sampler drum machine, is I can select that and change up the sound. So if I hit X again, So I might just leave it there. And just looking at this machine here, like we do have the pads that we can control, so we can do that, but we can also control a whole bunch of the different values. So I'm just going to hold A on this one and see how me twisting the controller rotates the dial there. So it's not just like we have to reach in and grab it, but we can also like sort of stand back and do it. I could point over here and do that sort of work. So it just gives us a bunch of different stuff. So we've got something that's really cool here, but really we probably don't need true drum machines. So we can actually swap these out. Like what I can do is I'm just going to select this one by pulling the trigger on it, and I'm going to hit Y, and then I'm going to use the joystick to go down to change gadget. And this is all the different gadgets that we have access to us. So a little bit less than what's on like a few other gadgets, but it's like, as you can see, we have like an arcade sort of machine, we have a vector machine, we have a wub-dub sort of bassline machine, and we've got a nice poly synth and a wavetable machine with a really cool wavetable effect right there. So some really cool ones. But it's like, if we wanted to swap that out, we can come in here and say, I want another poly synth. I can select that, hit A, and then that's going to bring this in. So actually, you know what? I might actually change this to that wub-dub machine. Whoops. There we go. So we've got a drum machine and a bass line with a big knob that we can grab, and yeah. But as you can see, you can probably tell that we have a full octave lined up here. And when I'm jamming, I usually just try and get rid of the notes that don't sound good with each other, just to make it easier when I'm like fiddling with things and seeing how it sounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Y and then go to scales and settings, and I like Dorian, maybe slap it on an F, because usually that sounds pretty good. And as you can see, it's got all the actual notes that we are working with. So any of these notes are going to work well together. And if we have a look on every single keyboard now, they all got that same style. So instead of using this to try and live play like that, what I might do is draw something in that might work. So holding A and then using the joystick here. So probably do that. Maybe drop down and we'll hit X to see how that sounds. What I might do as well, just cycle through. And then so that sounds pretty cool. So what we can do is we can, like we've just programmed in all that sort of stuff, but we can actually live record like these types of movements like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Y and then go into play and record. And then in recording, everything's running. But now I can like grab something. And as you can see, we start having some bass coming along. And this is what I really enjoy about having. Let's have a look at some of the other stuff that we can have. And then we can come over here. Alright, so just after a bit of jamming, I've come up with something with these machines in front of me here. So we've got a drum machine, we have our bass line going, and then we have this, and we have something going out. But like, how do we turn this sort of jam into a bit of a song. So this is where we come over to the song that you hear. As you can see, all these bits of information from different machines, so all the sequences, they've all been transported onto this main one, and then we can use that to sort of flesh things out. But we're not limited like a 4/4. I didn't really show that. I usually like jamming in like a nice 4/4 anyway. But if you select the panel, we can draw on it, but we can also change the clip length. So like say we want 5 bars, that's a lot of information, but we can like live record a whole like pad section and then have that looping over the top, and that will figure out the right ratio. We can display, we can change the grid size as well, so that allows us, so like if I want to just draw it in bars I can, which makes that clip view easier. Copy, paste, select, undo, like all that. We can have a look at our automation of our instruments. We can edit the scene settings, so if tempo on that, that's really more related to that panel there. But we have a variety of options. So I'm going to extend this out, and I might just duplicate this a couple of times. You can hit this plus button, but that's just going to create a completely new frame. So what I might do is hit Y, which is sort of like the menu button. I'm just going to delete that scene. Hit Y, duplicate scene, duplicate scene, duplicate scene. And then I can come in here and say I want to clear the clip for the bassline. We can clear the clip for that, and then we'll clear the clip for that. So when we hit start, it's just going to loop in that scene there. But if I come down here, hit A, it's going to jump into that next section there. So if I just stop that, we can sort of create out like a bit of a live play. So what I might do is say for the next section, it's just the bass line. So I'm just going to clear that clip, clear that clip, maybe have a scene where it's just that. And no, we'll delete that one too. Then we can have all of it come in at the end. So I'm just going to delete that clip. And then, yeah, so we can come up here. I'm just going to hit A, which should arm that track. There we go. So we've got sort of like little drum groove here. We can come down here and do things like we can do like a fade in, and then come back up to this menu and get this one armed. Come over here and start playing with the machine, and then we can start jamming. Cool, so I just thought I'll leave it right there, because right here we can actually start having some really cool little jams going and seeing how things work. We can come over here and play with our different machines, but there are a few like bits that I would like to see in this type of space. Like we are in VR, and like the one thing that I would like to see further on is like we have all these dials, and like I want to come in here and grab them like that. But the way that we have to interact in this scenario, so you use the trigger here, you point it at the object that you want to control, so that will select the device, and see how that gray border, until you pull that trigger, that's what's selected. And then the way that we interact is we hold the A button, doesn't matter where we're pointing, that uses the accelerometer of the controller to play. And like that's really cool. Like say I'm over like fiddling with this, but I want that to still be running. I can still be looking over here and see over there. But I really want to stick the controller in here and just like pull the trigger, and then that's going to interact. It's like it just needs like a little finger sticking out here, so I can just like come in here and start pushing the buttons of these machines. Because really, having like playing on Korg Gadget on the Switch, I really wanted to like grab these machines and actually put them on my desk and play. And like they are there, they're in 3D, and we could have a lot of fun playing with them. But you just want to grab the thing and twist it. I really enjoy that they brought these machines to life in 3D. Like they do look the part, and they look really cool. I really enjoy seeing wavetables being brought into 3D with the line render, and it's really interesting. But it's like the machines themselves, I feel they can be a little bit more interactive. Like as I was saying before with the the way I want to interact. Like these buttons here, like I could definitely hit them in VR no problem. But when it comes to like little dials and little buttons like this, like it would be interesting to see how these machines could be suited for like this type of controller setup. The way we interact with the menus, I would like to use the laser pointer here to like draw out on the device, and like it can be a little bit temperamental, like as I was trying to move around, like that's me trying to just move left and it's dropped 3 lines, like things like that can be a little bit frustrating. But in all, like seeing these machines live, like I do have Gadget on the Switch, and I always wanted to see what these machines would look like in 3D space, and I am not disappointed. They are very cool, but just being able to get in there and like play with the dials, I reckon they'll make this such a really cool little jamming machine. And another thing, I really enjoy that they brought the Kingston into this. Like it actually feels like an arcade cabinet, but it's probably one of my favorite sounds to play with, that sort of chiptune / arcade. So really enjoy that. And another thing too, like we are in VR space, and like bringing up this menu here and using the joystick to move around, like that is, I feel, from the Switch, I would love to see like this play and record. Like when we select device, so say I select, we'll just get out of that menu. If I select this device here and bring up the menu, instead of that, I would like to see some of these options actually pop out as icons below the machine. Like if I want to play and record, it's like there's a big play button and a big record button. I just go bonk, and then we can start interacting with the device and like being able to have that sort of jam feel with it, and then we can hit it again, turn it off. So we're not always coming into these menus and like clear automation that like you should always have access to this sort of stuff. But yeah, having them like just sitting there, that would be really cool as well. All right, so does this mean that you should run out and try and get a Quest as soon as you can, sell all your machines and get into VR, because that's the future? And to be honest, I would say if you've got access to some sort of Quest that has access to their app lab, definitely give it a shot, because it's really interesting to see how they've implemented bringing that tactility to like synthesizers, because it's a very hands-on sort of experience, and bringing it into sort of virtual space. And like I did give it some critique and some improvements, but I can definitely see this is like an early stage of what could be there. And to be honest, if you do actually have a Switch, or I think Korg Gadget's on a variety of devices, like I really enjoy the Switch version because it's got like a live multiplayer sort of setup, so I can connect with someone online and we can jam together. And like, to be honest, I've used this to sort of teach ideas. Like there's the Chicago on here, which is sort of like a 303 bassline. I've used that to explain concepts as well. So if you got access to, I think it's on a variety of devices, so I might leave a link down below, because there's a bunch of different ways that you can go. But this is something really interesting to me, because I do dabble in that sort of spatial audio. I've done a few tests and put it up on YouTube as well. But it's a really interesting space to see how music has influenced games, but how it's sort of trickling into that virtual reality, immersive technology space. So super happy to see something like this exist. It's definitely in that early stage, so take it with a grain of salt. So in the end, I hope you found this one enjoyable. I really did enjoy mucking around in VR to see how those synthesizers worked, and I did come up with a really interesting little jam. Like, only took like a couple of minutes, but I did have fun. The similar sort of fun I did have on these machines here. And like, it's definitely in that early stage, but it's really nice to see that sort of migration, where it's going with the technology. Like, it might not be the Quest that is the VR headset that everyone gets, but it's really interesting to see like the steps it's going towards it, because I think the more important part is that 3D underlying component where we sort of make the assets. And like, I do try and digitize a lot of these machines to create some nice visuals for this channel, but I have started creating YouTube content to like put out 3D content on how to use Blender and how to create like game ready assets, because those sort of transition into VR space, and it's sort of like a really nice blend between music and 3D. So I think that's more important I follow through there, because it's sort of like a question I always had in the back of my mind. Should I be doing a music channel, or should I be doing like a more encompassing channel? But I'm really happy where I'm at right now, and I can definitely see where this is going. So if you did enjoy this one, definitely give it that thumbs up, because it tells the algorithm to point it to other people. Maybe someone that has a Quest that wants to try music for the first time. So do that, and feel free to comment any questions or queries. Like, I did do a bit of a speed run on how to use Korg Gadget, and there's a lot more there. I might even do a future video talking about the Korg Gadget on the Switch, because I feel a lot of the features, like holding A and you use the accelerometer in the Switch, that's how I sort of figured out how the Korg Gadget worked for VR. So got any of those comments, definitely feel free to leave them down below. And in the end, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you next time.